But the real question is, Eddie, now if we have fiestas, what if it's in more than one game? What if you have a best of 2 every single week for every single team?
I mean,
I think there'd be a lot more fiestas.
there would
and
be
I think
a lot
it'd
more
be
fiestas.
a lot better to watch. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about now?
It's
We're going to
format.
be talking about formats. Yes. So we have NA. Everyone always knows we have the best of ones. You get to see your team twice a week against 2 different teams, and that's it. Nice and easy to watch. You know when your team is playing. You got to set aside like 45 minutes with the league schedule, maybe like 3 hours because they're always late and the timings are always off, but 45 minutes. And you get your that's your game for the day. And then you watch the next one tomorrow or whatever it is with Friday, the 3 days, whatever. That's all you got, all right? So, they are quick. They're easy to watch.
They're
all that
easy
stuff.
to watch. I like them because I don't have to watch. Instead of watching like 6 fiestas, I would have to watch like 30 fiestas if they were best of 2 or best of 3. So as like someone who just has to like examine and break down some of these games, I prefer it to be best of 1. But as a viewership, it's different.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about some of the bad stuff, though, we have with best of ones, okay? So there's a very high possibility of one bad play just throwing it, all right? You only have 18 games a season. That's all you have in a whole season. If you make one bad play, that's a big percentage. If you lose that, that's a big percentage that just lost off of one play. So that's a big issue. You also only get to play each team 2 times a split. And from the first time and second time you play them, there's a possibility there's weeks, if not months between games.
Yeah.
Meta changes, everything. It's not, you don't really get a chance to show that in that meta, you actually can hang. You could get destroyed because you had a bad draft, and now everyone's just going to think you're bad.
Exactly.
But for real, it could be just a bad draft, and you could have came back the next game and destroyed it. And we see this in playoffs all the time when they get destroyed in the first game, and they come back and destroy in the second game. Nothing
Exactly.
changed between those 2 games.
Like playoffs and regular season are so different from each other because of the best of 1 format, but also the best of 1 format also hinders improvement. Like if you're only playing a certain amount of games,
Yeah.
you're only allowed to make a certain amount of risks, which hinders improvement.
Yeah.
You can't sub in players all the time or in between games or like Cloud9 2 years ago, or I guess technically 1 year ago, when they were switching Sven Skaren and Blabber and Golden Glue and Jensen out all the time.
It was so interesting.
It made
And
it
worked.
so interesting, and it worked. And it was like a top. They weren't really supposed to beat. I think they weren't really supposed to beat TSM. They went to Game 5, where Golden Glue beat Bjergsen and wins them their path to finals. You know, so people and teams would start introducing that a lot more if we went back to like a best of 2 format.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Now, some people don't understand best of 2. How does it work? The EU did some weird thing with like points or whatever. It wasn't just games. But in my opinion, I think best of 2, you just score it by games. You get points. You can go even in the week with a team. You can both win 1 game, whatever. You just still get a point. The difference is you're playing each team 4 times a season. You play them 2 back-to-back, but each time you play them, you get to play both sides. So you play a blue and a red side, just in case for some reason in the patch, blue and red side, there's a big difference in stuff.
Well, there is a significant
There is,
difference.
but
like
sometimes,
red side has a significant losing advantage over blue side.
Exactly. Losing advantage? You mean like
Or
they lose more?
They lose more.
Okay.
Like a higher loss
Yeah,
percentage.
yeah.
Sorry.
So you get 1 game on each side. If they tie, you realize that they're pretty even teams.
Yeah.
They're pretty close there. They both get a point for the weekend. They both lose a point in the end technically because they didn't get 2 wins, but they're both pretty close to each other. They both get a point. But if a team wins both sides by extraordinary amount, obviously that team's better. You get a way better understanding and you can't just call it a fluke. And obviously if a team loses badly both times, they're just a bad team. So this is a lot of stuff. One of the kind of in the middle things is it's still not that much time, especially if they leave a smaller break in between of maybe like 15 minutes between games. You have maybe an hour and a half to watch.
Yeah.
That's not a crazy amount of time to dedicate if you only watch your team or maybe just like one game of another team and all that stuff. An hour and a half is not bad.
I also think most viewers of LCS only watch their favorite team play.
Exactly.
Most people don't watch games. So if you really want to extend that viewership and bring up numbers, introducing more games that player's favorite team is playing or that viewer's favorite team's playing is going to increase viewership.
Yeah, 100%. Now, there is some issues, though. There is a lot more games that need to be played each week. Double
Yes.
the amount of games that have to be played. So you have to figure out something there with the schedule. Do you add another day? Do you make the days even longer? What do you do? Because they have broadcast staff. Like, they can't be having this broadcast staff working all that time.
When
That's
they were
too much.
when they were doing best of threes,
Yeah.
they were doing like full day Friday, full day Saturday, full day Sunday. So like instead of like how Friday Night League is like, oh, we got 2 LCS matches tonight,
It's
and
no,
that's
it's
really
a full
it.
day.
It's a full day. Like,
yeah. So they wouldn't be that much because it wouldn't be the best of 3, but I do think best of 2 brings in a lot of new interesting things. You get to have that conversation between games. What's going to be switched? Are they going to run it back? What are they going to do? All this fun stuff you get to see in playoffs of teams making strategies between games that you just do not get during the regular split.
Yeah, it brings more risk, brings more reward. It's awesome.
Exactly. The one other thing is you might have a less average viewer base because instead of them staying between, you have a shorter amount of time with best of 1s, so you can watch multiple games and bring up your average, where if best of 2s, you're automatically stretching out the amount of time, so your average might go down. But I feel like it's still, but each game probably going to be pretty close to what you would be getting if they were playing anyways, because there is the people that watch every single game, and there's the people that only watch their team.
Yeah. I think it's also a really good balance between best of 1s and 3s.
Mm-hmm.
We're best of 3. We're going to talk about
It's
it.
a little much.
It's a lot, and it's a lot to do. And then switching to only best of 2 format still introduces like the variables that a best of 3 format would.
Yeah.
While lessening the what am I trying to say?
I don't know. What are you trying to say, Eddie? It's a really good question.
Lessening the impact on the broadcast team and everything else like that.
Because going to a best of 3 really, it changes the show. And I'm going to talk about that right now. The biggest thing with a best of 3 is you have a lot longer games. Each set, you're going to be looking at probably 2 hours. And you have 3 times as many games to play in a weekend. You're playing 3 weeks worth of games right now in one weekend.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot. That's like a third of the season. Not third, like a quarter. It's a lot. I don't know the exact math. But you basically have to do the whole, it's almost undoable. Sorry, not undoable. It's not possible with the current way they have the LCS broadcast.
No, they'd have to switch.
It's a whole
things back to how it was 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, and we might want to talk about this on maybe next week. But the LCS broadcast right now is not good, anyways.
Yeah,
so maybe they do want to just switch it all up and do a whole rework with the best of 3. But you would need to do that with the best of 3. But there's a lot of positives. I don't know if there's as much positives as the best of 2, but there is some big ones. Okay, your sample size for finding the best team each split to send to Worlds is a lot bigger.
Way better.
3 times as many games. You get to see what they do. Like with a best of 3, you'd only be scoring who wins the series because you can't tie. So you'd be like, your top 3 teams are by far your top 3 teams. And the thing is, your top 3 teams are going to be even better because they're playing 3 times as many show matches on like stage matches, what I call show matches, where right now you're playing 18 stage matches a split. Like, that is not enough practice to go up against LEC teams. Or not, sorry, LEC teams are doing best of 1s, but like LCK teams where they're playing throughout the whole week. Like, they have so much more practice on stage games, which like we hear when we talk about stage to scrims. You always hear there's the scrim players that are dominating scrims and fail on stage. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't care if you dominate in scrims.
If you don't perform on stage, you're not worth it.
When you go to Worlds, like, you're not helping us at all.
Well, and think of it like this. If you introduce so many more games and you introduce a new player into a team, right? That player is going to get through their jitters a lot faster. Let's say they play 1 best of 3 and they go through 3 games. That's like pretty much a week and a half worth of actual LCS
and in one
games
weekend,
in just
you're playing
one game.
2 best of 3s. You're getting 6 games in one weekend. You're ready for the next weekend already.
Yeah, you start to see now as a coaching staff, you're willing to put these new players in without having as much risk and being like, okay, so we'll give you 1 game here to get out the jitters, then we'll switch you out for the other guy, and then next week we'll do the same thing, and then eventually the jitters are out, and then we can introduce new NA talent back into the team.
Absolutely. And just the last thing with the best of 3 that has a little bit of an advantage over the best of 2, you don't get ties. But that really comes down to the way you're going to be doing the scoring.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different options with your best of 2s and best of 3 scoring. You can go by, you can do point systems in the game there's so many things we're not going to get into. But I think the best way is just go by who wins the game. Because in the end, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Especially when you're competing at Worlds. Because that's really what everyone wants to see.
Who wins?
Is a strong, who's the best in the world.
Who's the best in the world.
So I think you have to look at that, but the best of 3 doesn't leave you with any ties. But the ties could be interesting because they show that they're pretty close teams.